Welcome back to another review. I have the Lenovo P8 tablet in for testing, and this was sent in via Gearbest for a review. We're just going to look over quickly what you get included. We have the micro USB cable for charging, and this particular one came with a 2 amp wall adapter. Looks like the USA plug to me. Faster charging with that, though you can obviously use your own. Now the documentation was all in Chinese, so we'll skip straight onto the spec, and this looks quite promising. We've got a full HD display, a Snapdragon 625, dual cameras, dual band Wi-Fi, as well as Bluetooth and GPS. With 3 GB of RAM, it should run quite smoothly too. We'll do some benchmarks and tests later on. Now taking out the box, you'll see you've got the stickers on the top and bottom. This is an IPS panel, so we have a very good display on this actually, good contrast and colours, and it also has excellent viewing angles. On the back they've gone for a textured finish, so what I'll do is zoom in a bit so you can have a look at that. It's much more practical than the smooth one, gives plenty of grip. You see the cameras in the corner. Now to open up this slot is a bit tricky, and that's where your tray is for your micro SD cards. It takes up to 64 GB. So perhaps the 16 gigs not a problem. Headphone jack, micro USB, there's the speaker in the slot and the microphone, and your power and volume control on the side. Other side we have the other speaker, so we have stereo sound on this. Now powering up and just using the tablet is quite apparent. It's quite a speedy performer, so no problems with performance. You also have some nice features too. Click on the start icon and you can actually adjust the color temperature of the screen. Go from a standard mode. Reading mode takes you into a warmer light. There's also a child mode too, and if you want you can actually just customize it to your own particular taste with the color temperature, brightness, hue, etc. Don't go too mad with some of the settings because you can get some quite funky effects which wouldn't look particularly good, but it's nice that you can do that. As far as the pre-installed apps, there are a few in here but not too many. I wouldn't be a big fan of the McAfee security one, but there are a couple in there that are quite useful. And there are also a couple which aren't very useful, such as the Lenovo one, which just gives you the spec on the tablet. Not particularly sure why they put that in. Drop down menu, we have a LED on the back. Main thing to look for here is the Dolby Atmos, and we'll be doing a little test on that later on. Stereo sound should enhance it with a virtual surround. Now running through the main menu on this, pretty much standard for Android 6. Your usual settings are here. There's nothing particularly different, although we do have a notification light. That's one area to look at. We can also screencast with this. Internal storage, just over 6 GB used out of that 16 in total. So you might want to add a bit more storage if you play a lot of games. There is a kids mode included too, which is quite well done. To set this up you'll have to enter a pin or a pattern. So you can add the child's name, and then you can specify which particular apps you want access to. So you can actually lock out certain apps so that they can't access that, including your network control, and different websites you can whitelist or blacklist those, and even specify the run time so you don't want them using it too much. Once you've done and switched over, it brings up a large icons, very easy to use, particularly for younger kids. I'm thinking maybe sort of under 10 years old, and you can always switch back to your own particular account. So you can add multiple users to that. Nice little feature. There was an update available, but it was just a bug fix. We're still on Android 6 with this tablet. Let's have a look at the Dolby Atmos. This is a special licensed software that they're using for the speakers to enhance the sound, and you can specify different modes, including music, voice and game, as well as a virtual surround, which will give you the impression of surround sound from the 2 speakers. In practice it actually works quite well. That was just a very quick demo. I recorded that in stereo. You won't get the virtual surround effect unless you listen to it yourself, but the sound is impressive, definitely much better than most tablets I've used, particularly in this price point. Now, there's quite a lot of settings in the camera app, so you can go through and adjust that. It does have a sort of autofocus system which perhaps could be a little bit better. You've got a lot of filters included if you like playing around with those. There's nothing really wrong with what they've done with the app for this. You probably won't use most of the settings, but you have some more advanced ones there. You can also do slow motion, high speed, high frames per second video, image stabilization. You can adjust all the colors, the white balance. If you like tweaking around, quite a lot of choices here, as well as manual settings as well, such as the ISO. No real problems with that side of it. You wouldn't need to dive into the menus to get to it. The front camera is pretty much bog standard, lags a bit in low light, not particularly anything special on that. I noticed the focus speeds though were a bit on the slow side. It sort of pre-focuses. It's using a contrast detect system, so if you move the tablet around it will try and focus, and it can take a couple of seconds in low light, so be aware of that. GPS was good, the signal was very strong, but it does take a while to lock on. The battery came in about the same spec. 3 hours to charge, that's a decent enough. And the 3D score now on Antutu, good performance, and the multi-core score on Geekbench 4, just under 3000. Decent performance all round really with this. It's not high end by any means, it's more sort of low end, mid-range, lower end as such, but definitely better than you're going to get with the super budget tablets that are selling around under the $100 sort of mark. As far as playing most games, it did a pretty good job. Unless you're really pushing it, you probably won't have any complaints at all with the performance. Occasionally drops a few frames, but overall pretty good. Also did well on the Wi-Fi test with speeds, held the signal well. The screen does pick up marks quite easily, particularly fingerprint marks, more so than most tablets. Quick look at the video now. The details are actually good on this. Have no complaints, but you'll see with the stabilization it is off. It can hunt as well a little bit with the focus. Does improve a bit with the stabilization on, but you do reduce the wide angle of the lens. It narrows it down. And in low light you'll probably want to put the LED flash on. You can use it as a video light, and the results again are pretty decent for a tablet in this price range, at least on the main camera. And this is a quick shot showing you with the LED light off. Probably good enough for most people. We'll have a look at the still camera in a bit. There's an app which allows you to refocus, but I didn't find the results to be particularly good myself. This is the front camera. As I said before, nothing to shout about, not particularly great. And the main camera now, low light. Again, you're really going to want to use the LED flash for this. And you'll see a shot that I've done here with that. So not the best low light performance, but if light is fairly good outside, having a look at the shot here, normal shot. Bit contrasty, but you can always adjust that in the settings or use one of the filters. The HDR mode was a bit strange, tended to lifted things up quite a lot in the shadows, didn't really pull the highlights down, and don't use it inside, it makes things a bit funny. But the details are good, zoomed in more than 100% on this. I was quite pleased with the results. Quick shot inside of the cat, that's without the LED flash, and the exposures are generally pretty good. A little bit of red eye, you're going to get that with people and animals off of the LED light. Sometimes the focus can be a touch off though, so you might want to be careful with that to refocus. You can see here it's focused on the soil rather than the plant. And again on this one, just slightly off on the focus, so the camera's pretty good apart from the autofocus, which could be better. Video playback is also good at full HD. This is on YouTube, one of my own videos. There's no problems at all with that, but this aspect ratio is a little bit off. It's not fully widescreen, so you'll get a few bars at the top and bottom. Probably not a big issue for most people. Summing up with the Lenovo P8, overall this is a pretty good little tablet. I was fairly impressed in most areas, particularly with the screen and the sound. Both are very good. You're going to notice the difference with this over the super budget ones, and the gaming performance was also decent too. The main camera is pretty good in good light. There are a few things that I would change. Would have liked perhaps a larger battery. It's a bigger device. It's very good on battery as it is. You get about 6.5 hours screen time thanks to the energy efficient Snapdragon 625. Also perhaps would have changed the coating on the screen, because that can pick up fingerprints a bit easily. Also the front camera isn't particularly good. There's nothing great about that, but it's okay if you're just using it occasionally for Skype or Viber or something like that. So yeah, overall pretty good for the money. Aren't too many complaints. I think most people will be quite happy with this one. Thanks for watching the video, and don't forget to check out some of my other ones, and I'll catch up with you soon.